Hi, everybody. Welcome to All Things Metaphysical Podcast with Kellie and Gail. Just in case you forgot, I'm the Gail part because it's
That
been.
would make me the Kellie part, yes.
So we decided to do the podcast once a month for now. And so today is the November podcast. So
How about that?
let me just turn off my. We don't want to get dinged every 5 minutes. So
Oh, why not?
And if you're watching us live, please put comments in and we'll be happy to answer them as we're live. We will read them and answer them. We don't say anyone's name though, because we don't know who's watching this, so we're just not mentioning anyone's names. But if you ask us a question, we will answer it. One of the things that I wanted to start out with, because I just did a big event about a week and a half ago. And it's like, how do you know who to trust? And how do you know who's the right vibration for you?
Right.
What do you think about that topic?
I've had that question asked to me many times. Really, it comes down to who resonates with you.
Mhm.
You can pretty much tell if you're in tune with who you are, with your own energy, who clashes and who doesn't. And they may be a fabulous medium for anybody else, but not be right for you.
Mhm.
And that's completely fine. I tell people all the time when they schedule with me, if this is not right for you, we can, we can move it, we can cancel, we can do whatever. But you kind of have to read people before you schedule them, with them. I look at their posts,
Mhm.
kind of talk to them. Are they a positive person? Are they somebody that you even like as a person? That's that happens too. And it goes both way. Doing readings, I
Mhm.
have actually canceled someone's reading and refunded their money because it was not a good fit. I could not, it was like my skin was crawling, just talking to them. So that works both ways. You really have to know who you are and what resonates with you. Honor yourself.
I refunded money one time when I've done
Mhm.
a reading, and it's not that it wasn't a good fit. It was that no matter what I said, they kept saying, "No, that's not right. No,
Right.
that's not right."
Yeah.
So, I'm just like, well, I can refer you to other people and I'm happy to give your money back, but you're not in a space to hear what they're wanting me to tell you. So I just don't think this is a good fit for now.
And that's something too. I wish more people would talk to themselves before scheduling a reading.
Hmm.
You know whether or not you're ready to hear something.
Hmm.
And if you're not ready to hear it, don't blame us when you hear it. You know, that's something between you and yourself. Leave your medium out of it. Leave your reader out of it because it does happen. I've had those readings too where someone tried to argue with me and argue with me and argue with me, and finally, for whatever reason, the person on the other side made a comment that was specific to that person.
Hmm.
And then, it was massive tears because they've realized that this whole time they were fighting with me instead of getting the messages that they really wanted to hear. Sometimes the people on the other side are very helpful to us with those kinds of things.
Well, welcome to everyone who's watching us. We're getting a lot of comments. So if you see
Yeah,
us looking over, we're just reading the comments. And yes, using your voice and being authentic goes a long ways in a lot of different situations. I just had a situation with a doctor that I needed to do that with as well, and that was not my favorite thing to do, but I also didn't want this doctor to hurt anybody else.
right,
So
right.
I think that it's all about learning to trust yourself and what resonates and what feels good. Because even if you're getting a reading, like I've had friends who've called me after readings and they're like, they say I have a curse and I have to pay them $3,000 and I have to sit in a bath and I have to get rose petals and I have to do all these things and I have to meet with them once a week for like a month. And I'm like, no.
Uh-uh. Uh-uh.
So,
No, uh-uh. Just no.
and it's all about because we all get those feelings, right? We're in a situation and we get this like, I don't know what other word to use. So they're using the word creepy in my head. So
Yeah,
you get this like creepy vibe where you're like, ew, like this is just, but then you're like, no, they know what they're doing. They're supposed to be this major person. I should listen to what they say, but their vibration is wrong with you, for you. And so
right.
that's all the creepy feeling is for you to trust yourself, and maybe that's not who you're supposed to go to right now.
Yeah. Yeah, it goes the other way too. I've had clients who scheduled through my website and then canceled and then scheduled and then canceled and then scheduled. And finally, I caught them when they were actually had just scheduled. And I reached out and said, "Do you have any questions? Is there something bothering you?" And the response was, "Well, my heart is telling me this is what I need to do to get my answers. But my head is fighting with my heart, and my head's saying, no, no, this isn't real. This isn't real." And they were having experiences after the death of someone close to them.
Mhm.
And it was just overwhelming to them. And yet they knew they needed the answers and that they finally did. We finally did get to the bottom of it. But if you are someone who is thinking, I really want to get a reading, I really have these questions, I really need these answers, don't talk yourself out of it. I think the universe put it in your head for a reason.
It's really funny because I get the people for readings that sometimes it's their first time ever having a reading. They're terrified. And I'm like, do you have any questions? They're like, no.
Yeah,
And then it's just all about, well, I just want to see what you're going to get.
yeah,
Okay, well, I can do that. So it's not going to be a problem, but it's going to freak you out more
right,
if you
right,
had questions. And the
right.
other thing that I notice a lot, and we've talked about this before, but I'm not sure we've talked about it on the podcast, is that when I do readings, 9 times out of 10, I make the person cry. And so but then I'll keep talking because the information needs to keep coming through. So I feel, and I oftentimes say to the person, I'm not being insensitive. I know that this is really difficult. And the
Yep,
reason that you're crying is because I'm validating things that you know that are true that there's no way I should know.
yep, 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 absolutely.
And so
Uh,
that's why you're crying. It's a recognition thing going, oh my God, she can really see what's going on. I've
right.
been struggling with this for a year, but I haven't said a word to anybody about it.
Yeah, and sometimes you get people who will tell you nothing, which honestly, that's fine. Your people will tell me I don't need to talk to you. I can just talk to them. But they'll give you a phrase,
Mhm.
and it's just that one phrase, and then you've got a very tearful, sobbing client on the phone with one phrase. It was green car this morning. I
Mhm.
said green car, and she lost it completely. And I'm like, what is so emotional about a green car? But I think that is the people on the other side. That is their way of saying, I'm here. This is okay. You're safe. All of those reassuring things. So, yeah.
I was laughing and crying when I was driving to this event because it was the day after my birthday. And I have travelers that go with me in my car from the other side lots of times, but both my parents were in the back seat having a conversation with me. And I'm like, I'm trying to drive. I can't drive if I'm crying hysterically.
Right, right.
And it was very sweet. And I was very grateful that they were there. So they stayed for about 20 minutes and then they left. But it's just really interesting. If you're open to those kinds of things, you get more of those things.
Yeah, yeah. That is one, I'll call it a side effect of having a reading, that I hear from many, many, many clients. It'll be days, weeks after the reading, and they'll call me and go, "Turn it off. Can I turn it off now?" And it's you asked me if you could talk to them, and I said, "Yes, you can." And they said, "We will communicate with you." And all of a sudden, now it's an issue. It's like you didn't believe it when you asked, but now you know that it's true. So now it's an issue.
Can we talk about something that might not be the easiest to talk about, but I think lots of other people besides us are having this experience?
Yep.
Do you know where I'm going?
San Jose? No.
Welcome. We have someone from Germany listening to us.
Yay.
Um, so one of the things, and it's come up with a couple conversations that I've had with friends because it freaked them out. So one of the things that happens is a lot of times if you don't remember your dreams, it's because you're not really sleeping. You're doing other things. And
Right.
so lately, just like in our 3D world, there's a lot of war going on. In our dream time, there's a lot of war going on.
Yeah.
And people are like waking up going, did that really happen? Yes, there's a
Mhm.
lot going on multidimensionally, kind of similar to what's going on in our 3D Earth world right now. How is that to explain it in a nutshell without getting too
That
graphic?
was good. That was clearer than what I would have said. Yes. It's this is what I'm hearing, and what they want me to talk about is that this is humanity creating all of this. It's everything in other dimensions. We're doing that. We are, even if you are someone who is saying enough with the hate, we have to love each other. In other dimensions, we're fighting over that.
Mhm,
So it's really something that humanity needs to address. Each and every one of us that puts out peace and love into the universe will help.
mhm,
And it's really hard to get people to understand that it takes each and every one of us doing that. You can't say, yeah, I'm sending out love to the universe, I'm sending out peace to the universe, and then curse out your neighbor, for being different. That's how we're messing it up. People, no one wants to say, I'm a really bad person. I hate everyone. Nobody wants to say that. You don't want to be known for being that hateful, spiteful person who's just going to attack other people for being different. But in a certain segment of the population, which I'd really rather not be burned at the stake again this lifetime, so I'll let it go at that. It's what is happening.
Well,
On Sunday, everyone is love, 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 love. And on Monday, they're killing each other.
well, the other thing that maybe we should talk about, because when I did, I don't. So I think I broke my own record on at this event I was at. I did 25 readings in 2 days.
Wow.
It was a lot of
Wow.
readings. And one of the things that came up a lot was people have a lot of questions about past lives.
Yeah.
And one of the things for people who are really intuitive in this lifetime is 9 times out of 10, you've been killed in a past lifetime for your gifts,
Yeah.
which is why it's really hard to step into them in this lifetime because none of us want to get killed again
Right.
for using our gifts. We may not remember the lifetime, but that's imprinted in our soul.
Yep.
So,
Yeah. It's you were awesome in all souls, they're saying. I'm just agreeing with them.
thank
Um
you. I was a rock star.
yeah. Well, you always are at events. It's just we need to have we need to get to a point where, as human beings collectively, we stop hating each other and
Mhm,
stop hating the differences. And we were talking before the show, it comes down to fear,
mhm,
and I have many friends that are First Nations people, and they say the same thing. It wasn't that in the early colonization, the early takeover of the US, it wasn't that they were so different that it caused a war. It
mhm,
was that they had different beliefs, and their beliefs and their cultures were so strong in their people that it made the colonizers who came in afraid, and they just had to kill them because obviously this was a very strong culture. You can't take over a very strong culture. They will fight back. And that has continued. And it's not only in the US, it's worldwide, where it's just you're different, so you must die. And that's what I'm seeing a lot of. A lot of the hate is starts in the fear.
Well, I think with that, and very important points, is that there are some people who come back to Earth that hate being on Earth because they hate the density and not being able to use their talents and gifts. So, you know, oftentimes, and I'm sorry to bring this subject up, but it's come up in my life a lot in the last couple of days, is a lot of times those are the people who suicide or end up taking their own lives because they just can't reconcile being here. And I want to clear something up for people, at least from my perspective. Because I've heard so many people say, well, they're in hell, they committed suicide. And, I believe that Earth is actually hell.
Mhm.
And, Earth is school. This is where we're learning our lessons. This is where we're making mistakes. This is where our soul moves on. But when we transition, sometimes what happens is people who had a hard time in being in the human existence go into like respite care, or like you could think about it like a hospital after
Right.
they have their life review, because they need help with reconciling what happened while they were here. And once that happens, then the soul just continues to move forward and evolve.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had several clients who have lost people through suicide, and they're always surprised when I find them on the other side. They're like, "You can talk to hell." No, no, honey, you're in hell. We're in hell. They're fine. They're absolutely fine. But that is something that religions have done.
Mhm.
They brought the concept of hell.
Well, it's really interesting. Back 20 years ago, when my third eye decided it was going to reopen, and I got all these downloads of information. One of the things that they explained to me, and
Mhm.
I don't know how you feel about this, is the cross was actually the symbol of white light. And then they took it and put it on all these buildings as a way to control us.
Yeah. Well, the cross was an early pagan symbol,
Mhm.
and it was light, but it was north, south, east, west, and it was as above, so below. That was the whole thing. And then it was like all the pagan holidays, it was taken over in really a big effort to control the people. That
Mhm.
was exactly what it was all about. It's like, no, we cannot benefit as a government with you guys doing this.
Right.
So we need to convince you that you need us and our religion more than you need this. So we've lost a lot of ancient knowledge.
The interesting thing is that, and I want to explain because we have a lot of new people watching us, I think probably for the first time today, is that Kellie and I will have some ideas of where we're going to go before we start. And then we end up in a completely different direction.
Yep.
And I think that's partly due to who tunes in, that we need to say certain things or cover certain things. And sometimes, yes, we are all over the place because we're trying to energetically get you guys what you need that are watching us that maybe you haven't asked us for, or somebody who's going to watch this. So that conversation on suicide was really important for somebody. I
Yep.
don't know who, and it's important that you learn to honor that intuitive part of yourself. And I think that's what Kellie and I'm speaking for you now, have
Okay.
decided that we want this podcast to just be about is just learning how to be authentic. We're
Yeah.
going to make mistakes. We're going to say things that make people angry. That's never our intention. Our intention is to just share whatever information or downloads we're getting while we're doing the show live.
And I'm used to people yelling at me anyway, so it doesn't matter.
I am not, but I learned very recently to
You
just
are learning.
so if you guys who are watching us live have questions, put them in the comment section. We will address them. Um, you know, we've I just think they're like 3 people are talking to me at once and I'm trying to talk and I can't get out a coherent sentence.
Yeah, I'm hearing some chatter as well.
One
Um,
one of the things I'd like to talk a little bit about, and I think that sometimes we do a pretty good job doing this together, is how do you start to trust your intuition? How do you start to open up to it? Because I mean, I think like lately there's been lots of orbs or colors. And so when you start to tell people when you're starting to see those things, that generally that's a sign that your intuition is starting to open and to start paying attention to it. I think you also,
mhm.
some people get feelings in their body. Like I know when I'm doing a reading and something is profoundly true or is going to cause someone pain, the whole left side of my head starts vibrating and I just sit and go like this.
Yeah, yeah.
So you can get signs and ask for signs so that you know as well. And one of the other things I really want to cover, and I don't know why I'm covering this, is I've taken lots of classes on mediumship, and they're like, well, you get a dictionary. And when certain things come up, that's a sign for this. And I'm like, well, for me, that doesn't work because
Right,
it's different for me in every reading. So, it's not always the same. So when I get images or things like that, I'm just like to the person, this is what I'm seeing. I don't know what this means to you. I don't want to put a filter on it. What does it mean?
right. Like I said earlier, the green car made somebody cry.
Hmm.
There, I think it's different for everyone.
Hmm.
How anyone could ever have a dictionary is beyond me. Every single reading, every single class I teach is different. It can be the same exact class with a different person and have an entirely different, you
Hmm.
know, vibe about it. And I think the key is being open. The key is you have to know yourself.
Hmm.
I do a lot of protection before I open any doors,
Hmm.
and I recommend that everyone does. But if you are protected, there is nothing that says you can't say, this is what I need to know, and be open enough to see the signs. You
Right.
know, I have had people tell me they saw no signs. Well, what was your day like after the reading? Oh, well, I went outside and I saw butterflies. Okay, well, what was the next day like? Well, I went outside and I saw butterflies. Oh, I was driving my car and there was a butterfly on the windshield. Guess what? Somebody's talking to you with butterflies, and you have to be open to see the signs so that you can recognize it's a sign. You
So
know, there,
I'm going to pick your brain for a minute because the
uh-oh,
last 2 days, too bad, I'm going to do it anyway. The last 2 days has been all about dragonflies, and I've done a lot of dragonfly mandalas before. I did a whole calendar one year of dragonflies, which is ancient wisdom and
right,
ancient knowledge.
right.
So it's just really interesting that's I always start to pay attention to the themes that start to come through in my pictures a lot. Like I went through a phase where all I drew was butterflies in pictures or dolphins or things like that. But now we're back to dragonflies again. So which just started yet well, let's see, I drew it yesterday, but it actually started on Saturday.
What I'm hearing is that is a symbol of what you are to bring into the earth right now. So there is some aspect of the ancient knowledge that you have a piece of that
Mhm.
needs to be incorporated into the greater puzzle. They're
So
showing me a giant puzzle.
is this where I get to set a good example and not have a oppositional reaction to that?
Yes. It's hard though. It
Those of
really
you who
is.
know me will think that's very funny. For those of you who don't know me, for years I referred to myself as the reluctant mystic.
And you still are really. Yeah.
Thanks,
Getting
Kellie.
better though. We are dragging you, kicking and screaming into the
Come
light.
on, I've written multiple books. I've put stuff that I never thought that I would talk about in the world out in the world. Why do you ask for birth dates when you read clients? What is
I
the meaning
don't.
and significance of the birthday? I don't, but there are lots of people who do because what they do in their head is numerology.
Right.
And then they add up all the numbers of what your birth date is, and then that's kind of the path that you're on. So that could be why they ask for birthday. I just ask for the person's name.
Yeah.
People love to give me more information. Like when I do custom mandalas for people, I'm like, could I have the person's name? And they're like, well, here's their name, their birthday, this. I'm like, no,
The
just
whole family history. Yeah. The DNA. Yeah.
I just want the name because I want to tap in. But I would say people ask for birth dates because it's also your frequency and your resonance, and that might be how they're able to get into reading you. Just
Yeah.
like
It
I
could
use
be.
names, they might use birth dates.
Yeah. It could be a numerologist or an astrologist
Mhm.
that is asking for that information. I don't. Normally, during the course of the reading, at the very end, I can pretty much tell you what their sign is, though, without asking. So, yeah, there's reasons. Every reader is different, and there's reasons for all the differences.
And I've always said to people that a good reader doesn't really need the cards.
I don't. Mm-mm.
Can you tell how many times a person has lived on the earth when you read them?
If you're doing Akashic, you can. You
Um,
know,
yeah, I can. I never get a lot of numbers that way. They'll usually say many or that they've had very few lifetimes on this planet.
yeah,
That's why they're having a hard time. Or sometimes they'll say they have more of an angelic presence and they have that energy or fairy energy or things like that more so. But yeah, I mean, especially when I'm in someone's Akashic records, I can get all kinds of past life information.
right.
Usually, though, the way that they give me the information is so that we can clear blocks that
Yes.
are stopping you from getting to what you need to get to now, more so than just to give you past lives to get past lives.
Yeah, I have never had anyone say, I just want to know about past lives. It's
I
usually,
have.
so have you really? Yeah, usually it's people who say, I have this phobia and I think it came from a past life, or I have this weird scar on my knee and I think, and it's usually something like that. But those things do carry forward and
You
people
know, I,
don't realize it.
yeah, I had a lot of readings over the weekend with people who drowned
Yeah,
and they had a big fear of water. And recently I had three different readings with people who died in the Titanic, which was
interesting.
very specific.
Yeah,
So, it's really, were they famous people on the Titanic? No, they were just average
right,
people.
right.
Not
Yeah.
everyone can be famous people in past lives.
No, no. I had a teacher early on who, when I was being taught Akashic records and past life retrieval and healing old blocks, she said, you know, you're not going to meet anyone who was Cleopatra. They're going to tell you they were. But I know 17 people right now who think they were Cleopatra. So it's not, you're most likely not, you were not a famous person. Most likely you were a commoner. You were probably very poor. Every great once in a while, I have had one person who was a royal person in
Mhm.
ancient Egypt. But that doesn't normally happen that way.
So this question is, hi, what is the significance of how many times one has reincarnated on Earth?
Other than new soul, old soul,
Yeah.
generally, the more lives you have lived, the more your soul has learned. Doesn't mean you have learned it, but your soul has learned a lot of lessons.
Like you'll see the kid, like sometimes you meet a younger person and they're just like, oh my God, they're so wise. like way
Yeah,
beyond their years, and partly because they're an old soul. They have
right.
been here many times before, and this might usually when someone is an old soul, they're getting close to not reincarnating on Earth again.
Um, in past lives, you will be in the same station? No,
Mm-mm.
not necessarily. It depends on the lessons that you learned. It is entirely possible for you to have been, a very poor business person in a past life, but you learned those lessons. So in this life, you don't need to learn those again. You will be better equipped to handle those. It just depends on how much you learned.
Well, and I think it might be interesting to also talk about it depends where you were born too, what lessons you're
Yes.
working on.
Yeah.
Because let's say in the United States, if you're born in the United States, generally you're working on some power issues. You're working on third chakra issues or one of your other chakras, but the power level of it. If
Right.
you're born in like Haiti or something like that, you're probably working on root chakra issues and survival issues.
Yeah.
And I think what France is like the sixth chakra, I think.
You think so? Yeah.
Yeah. So, where we decided to reincarnate to is also about learning the lessons for our soul.
Yeah.
And the parents that we pick to learn
Yeah.
those with.
I did not pick my parents more often than any other thing.
I'm always
I'm
like I was at the end of
sorry.
the line, and these were no. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. No,
We we pick our families to learn more lessons, and sometimes people go through a lot of trauma early in their lifetime because they want to burn through their karma fast and have the rest of their life to be free and do whatever they want. And I know that's
right.
a really hard concept for people to understand. And we also travel with the same soul groups. So
Most often. And
most
what I was told is recently, very recently, that has started to change. And that is an effort by the divine source, whatever you want to use, to help humanity maybe make a little bit more headway, a little bit quicker than what we're doing. So, for the most part, yeah, you reincarnate with the same group. But lately, they've been kind of sharing the wealth and they've been taking more conscious people and spreading them out.
so does immigrating to other places mean we want to work on different chakras? It can.
It can. Yeah, it really can. I had friends who continually went back to another country over and over and over, and they finally moved there. And they realized after the fact that they wanted to learn different lessons in this life and work on different things.
Mhm.
So that it can be that, yeah.
We have certainly talked about the gamut of things,
Everything. Yeah.
but we have a little bit more time left if anyone else has any last minute questions. We try and keep our podcast to between 30 and 40 minutes because we feel like that's people's kind of attention span.
Yep.
Anything longer than that, people start to wander.
Yeah.
So,
Pulling any cards.
are you cool?
I'm not.
I, you know what? So, I took some of my healing mandalas and I turned them into a deck because I
Yay.
wanted to see what they would look like. So, I will pick one for all of us. How's
There
that?
you
A card that humanity needs right now.
go.
God help all of us because I have no idea what I'm picking.
uh,
I just heard Tiny Tim in my head.
I just heard tiptoe through the tulips myself. So yeah. Maybe
Oh,
that is what humanity needs right now. Laughter, fun. That's pretty. I like it.
healing light.
That is exactly what we need. Yes.
So that's what humanity needs right now is healing light. So just imagine sending, sometimes I imagine that the earth is covered in a rose pink blankie
Aw, yes.
because rose pink is universal love. So sometimes I just imagine that the whole world is just getting a hug.
Oh, the whole world needs a hug right now. Truly.
So,
Yeah.
well, we would love to thank all of you for joining us today and being with us. We love when people are watching live because we love just ping ponging all over the place and answering questions. So, thank you, everybody. We really appreciate it. We will be back. We're still trying to decide if it's going to be every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, every 4 weeks, but we'll let people know
Yeah.
at least a day before we do another show. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Look forward to seeing you guys again soon. Bye, everybody.
Bye.